Joining me now is former chairman of the DNC and former Vermont Governor Howard Dean. He also happens to be a medical doctor. Thank you so much, Governor Dean, for joining us on The Beat this evening. I'm going to start with this. As a doctor who understands not just the politics involved in public health, but also what it takes to keep people alive, how concerned are you every minute of every day when you see an entire political party in this country dedicated to promoting ignorance and combating life-saving medicines to help this country?
It's pretty frightening, really. The Cpac people have gotten more and more sort of off the charts, and Trump has always been a little nuts. But the thing that's so ironic about this is that the people they're killing in Missouri, for example, are actually Trump voters. Because the Trump voters have a much higher percentage of people who aren't vaccinated, exactly because of this garbage the president is putting out, the former president is putting out, they are not being vaxxed. And in southern Missouri, which is a conservative part of the state and a conservative part of the country, you have the death rate going up hugely. The highest increase in death rates have been in places like Mississippi and Alabama, Arkansas, and Missouri. And that's because that's where people believe this. This has become a cult. There's no rationality behind this. It's a cult based on anger, fear, and ignorance. And I have my doubts about whether they can win any election in 2024 or 2022 if this continues. I really do. The American people are sick of this. I think the principal reason, other than very hard work, that we have Senator Warnock and Senator Ossoff in the Senate is because of Donald Trump. And that's not going to get better. The normal people who often vote Republican but are pretty moderate cannot vote for this crap.
So I want to play you some audio here from Dr. Fauci talking about what's actually been going on. And it sort of goes along lines of what you're talking about. Who is being hurt by COVID now? Get your thoughts on the other side.
Well, if you look at the number of deaths, about 99.2% of them are unvaccinated.
It's horrifying. I mean, they're cheering about someone saying that it's a good thing for people not to try and save their lives.
As you mentioned, Governor Dean, the vast majority of the people who are now dying from COVID, according to Dr. Fauci, are those people who are unvaccinated. And while vaccine access has been very challenging, depending on where you happen to be in the country, by this point, if you want to, the vast majority of Americans should have been able to get one shot at least. I ask you again, do you think the Republicans just hate their own constituents? Because if their constituents are most likely to be the 99% dying of COVID in this new Delta variant, shouldn't COVID vaccine acceptance be a key part of any campaign platform in order to literally keep your assistance upright and safe for next year?
These guys are not interested in serving the country. This is like Jim Jones in Guyana. It really is. Wow. Trump is Jim Jones. 900 of his followers died, some of whom did not go willingly. But he mesmerized them. And Trump has got these people mesmerized, and that's principally because these are the ineffective people. They've lost their own agency. They've given up their own hope. And so they did what the Germans did in the Depression. They put their faith in somebody who turned out to be a madman. And Trump, Trump has a lot of deficits. He's lazy. He's not very smart, but he's incredibly skilled at exploiting discomfort and anger, and that's what he's doing. And people are going to pay, just as the Germans did as a result of the war. People are going to pay for this with their lives, and they already are. The other thing that Dr. Fauci didn't mention is a very high percentage of the people that are dying are no longer elderly. They're young people in their 20s and 30s because of the Delta variation is so much more dangerous and so much more contagious. And it is insane for anybody who has kids not to care about their children, but they have been mesmerized by Trump and because of their own deficiencies. And the Republican Party would rather have power than do the right thing for America. And I think that's a major problem.
And I want to play this last clip because it goes along the lines of exactly what you're saying. Look, there are public health measures that are usually necessary to deal with a pandemic, but even the public health measures that are voluntary, Republicans are now attacking. This is Madison Cawthorn. I want to get your thoughts on the other side.
And now they're starting to talk about going door to door to be able to take vaccines to the people. Think about the mechanisms they would have to build to be able to actually execute that massive of a thing. And then think about what those mechanisms could be used for. They could then go door to door, take your guns. They again go door to door, take your Bibles.
Yeah. Governor, we literally go door to door now to deliver mail. We go door to door now to do the census last year. Why are they fear-mongering about going door to door and volunteering? I mean, look, I've seen this in Los Angeles, in New York City, and places. It's already normal for public health officials to go door to door and say, hey, if you don't have information about vaccines, here's where you can go. Why are they fear-mongering about something that simple that's already happening?
Because they have nothing else to stand on. They've accomplished nothing. They've harmed the very constituency that they say they care about. Things are getting worse for Donald Trump's followers because of all this nonsense. They have nothing to say. And when you have nothing to say that's good for the country, you resort to the worst possible tactics. They do not give a damn about the United States of America. They only want their own power, and they're willing to have people who are not well informed into these kinds of crazinesses in order to keep their power. And it's costing a lot of lives. And I think the Republicans, just like Governor Abbott, in my view, was responsible for 200 people who died last winter in Texas because he was so cozy. His first statement was, "Oh, it was the windmills and the solar thing that caused all this." These Republicans are nuts. They're not all nuts, and that's why the Lincoln Project is doing so well, is because they appeal to real conservatives who actually care about the party. The biggest problem in the Republican Party is not the crackpots you see at the Cpac, as they've always been crackpots. The biggest problem is the decent people in the middle who won't stand up, and you're going to pay with your life eventually if you don't stand up.
Howard Dean, thanks for always giving it to us straight. Thank you so very much for joining the beat tonight.